Good morning, students. Welcome back to our session. I'm sure you all studied whatever we discussed in the previous lectures. And I'm sure that now you all are having a good insight about the various concepts in labor chapter. Now, as usual, we first start with your doubts, and then we will go on to starting with your next concepts and next workings in this particular topic. Chalo, so let us start with your questions, students. Put me your questions, whatever you have, either relating to labor or even if there is something left out in material, you may put it across. I'll prefer you all unmuting and asking. Yes, students, you may unmute and ask. No questions in labor? Wow, that is great. Excellent. So then let me take you all ahead. Just briefly summarize whatever we understood we did till now in this particular topic. So like material, if you all remember, I had mentioned that even in case of labor, we have to study three aspects. What are those three aspects we study? The first aspect is accounting, the second is controlling, and the third is charging. We started with accounting, if you remember. In accounting, we studied two concepts, or I will say two different accounting procedures. One is the timekeeping, one is the time booking. What is the difference between timekeeping, time booking? Timekeeping is the process of only recording the in time and the out time. That's it. So when you're recording the in time and the out time, that procedure of accounting is the timekeeping. So basically it is done to maintain the record of the time for which the employee is available and the employee is present in the organization. Now, as compared to this, time booking is different because time booking is more focused on recording the time which the employee has worked or utilized when he is present in the organization. So as you can understand the difference, timekeeping is more about only recording the time present. And this is going to record the time you have utilized on various jobs. And collectively, both helps in controlling also, because both helps in identifying whether there was any type of abnormal wastage of time, which is called as idle time, or whether or not you have spent sufficient time on each particular job. Also, time booking will tell you how much time you have spent on every activity, job, product, which will also help in the charging of labor cost to that particular product. So effectively, it helps in the costing. This is more helping in the accounting because how much wages to be paid, that wage calculation has to be done. And all those calculations depend upon your time for which you are present in the organization. Hope nothing is there relating to this. Now, then we started and discussed the concept of labor cost control. In this, one very important thing that I highlighted is when we talk about material or overheads, it is mainly controlling the total cost. However, when we talk about labor cost control, it is controlling the per unit labor cost and not the total. So per unit labor cost is basically the labor cost that you will get effectively per unit of your output. And this is what has to be controlled, or this is on what we need to pay focus. Then we started with the most important part of this chapter, that is charging. And when I was explaining this charging, I gave you material, labor, overheads, common formula or the mother formula for the charging rate. What is this mother formula for the charging rate? The mother formula is you will take the total cost of that particular element and you will divide that total cost by the normal quantity. Now, this normal quantity in case of material is quantity of material. In case of labor is the hours. In case of overheads is the normal quantity of the base which we are using for charging overheads. What is this base and all that we will discuss. Similarly, while finding this normal quantity, let us say we are talking about labor. So we'll take the total labor hours available, and from that I will deduct the normal idle time, that is the normal loss. Similarly, in the numerator, you deduct the scrap value of normal loss. However, this is applicable, possible only if you are doing costing of material. In labor and overhead, there will be no numerator having the scrap value of normal loss. This is the mother formula. This mother formula is applied for material, labor, overheads, everything's costing. This I had kept aside for today, and then we started discussing the special cases of labor. Okay, I think someone has put something in chat. So somebody has asked, sir, आपकी आवाज ही कम आ रही है. I don't know. I hope there is no problem at my side with the voice. If there is, please inform me. Another doubt is, sir, I have doubt in material. Hardik will take it at the end now. I have started with flow of labor. It is important to calculate idle time. Is this your question or this you are informing? Fine, perfect. So there are no doubts as such. Then students, we started with these specific or special item in labor. So we started with labor turnover. Labor turnover means, if you remember, I had mentioned movement. And it can be turnover of labor, it can be turnover of material, it can be debtors, creditors, anybody's movement you can measure. That is what is the meaning of turnover. Till date in accounts, we were representing sales as our turnover because sales represented movement of business. Here, labor turnover represents change in the composition of your workforce. So to what extent out of total or average workers, to what extent the number of workers have changed, that is represented by labor turnover. This rate is calculated as a percentage of total labor, but since total labor is changing, we take the average labor. I hope you all remember this. And then relating to labor turnover, we discussed all aspects of labor turnover, the theory and everything, right? Perfect. So let me just take you back to that part. Yeah. So this is all we discuss. Then we discuss the theoretical aspect, what causes labor turnover, controllable, uncontrollable reasons. Most important impact, it always leads to increase in your labor cost per unit. Why we discuss. Another very important part in labor turnover is the types of costs associated to labor turnover. And the last part was, if there is a high labor turnover or if there is a risk of high labor turnover, what are the steps or measures for reducing or controlling this labor? Again, Dilip is saying that my voice is breaking. Is that the case? Because net at my end is fine. But if there is any problem, please let me know. Okay, fine. Students, I think today, because there is a heavy rain alert in different parts of the country, maybe at your end, it would be because of this rain. So still, if major people find problem, let me know, because at least my net is showing perfect. Okay, let us proceed then. Then we also discussed the concept of overtime. Overtime is when you're working over and above the normal time. And normal time is the time which is decided in two manner. One, if Factories Act is applicable, very soon this will be replaced by the labor code. Another very big area of practice, whoever is interested in the I'll say the corporate sector and also who is interested in the legal side, you may think of specializing or super specializing in the labor code. Fine. Similarly, normal time, if Factories Act is not applicable, will be dependent upon the employer's terms and conditions, which is generally decided by your salary contract or the labor contract. Now, if Factories Act is applicable, Again, normal time can be decided either on weekly basis or on daily basis. Again, if you take the daily basis, it will be on the basis of 9 hours per day. And if you go by the weekly basis, it will be 48 hours per week. So this is the normal time. And when your working time exceeds this, we term it as overtime. Now, if there is overtime, then comes the overtime rate. So the rate at which you will be paid during overtime hours is the overtime rate, which is made up of your normal rate, which you are normally paid per hour, plus the premium, the additional part for working overtime. This is what is the specific point. Now, again, how much is this overtime rate? Again, that depends upon whether Factories Act is applicable. If it is applicable, then Factories Act recommend 200% of your normal rate. If Factories Act is not applicable, so your employer's terms will decide how much it is. I took example in the previous lecture that it is 175%. Now, when I'm saying 175%, it means 100 plus 75, that is premium is 75% of the normal portion. And then comes the most important part, how to deal with this premium, how to charge this premium. I have mentioned this in costing. You will find this question everywhere. Treatment of different things. In material, we saw treatment of scrap. In labor, you will see treatment of overtime premium. You will further see treatment of idle time. So all these terms like treatment means what you do of this cost. Now, I'll just explain you in the accounting sense. One, you are accustomed with accounting. Two, even our subject includes accounting, that is cost account. So let us say I've opened the account for labor cost. Now, this was exactly the example which I had given. 8 hours is your normal time for which you have paid at the rate of 100. Today, you have worked for total 10 hours. So 2 hours is your overtime for which the payment is 175. So a simple entry that you be passing in accounts is debit side is to bank. Now, let us say throughout the day, you have worked on 4 different jobs for these many hours. This is how it has made up 10 hours. Now, the question is, when you want to treat anything in costing, what it means? It means, what do you do of this cost? What do you do means this is what you have paid. This is what you have incurred. This is what you have spent. Now, the charging part is the credit side of this account. From this, we will charge it to our product. So the cost will be going to your products A, B, C, D. Now, how do you charge the cost? Your time booking has given you this, that you have worked 2 hours on job A, so you will charge 2 hours into the charging rate. 4 hours, 4 hours into the charging rate. Now, what do we do of this overtime that you have paid? Now, in this working, I have paid total 10 hours at 100. So out of this, 1000 is my normal wages, I will say. And for those 2 hours, I have paid extra at the rate of 75. So 150 is the overtime premium portion in this wages. Now the question is, when I will be doing costing or charging, when I will charge to all these 4 products A, B, C, D for the 10 hours, this 1000 rupees will get charged because anyways 100 I'm going to charge. The question is, what do I do of this extra 75 which I paid for the 2 hours? That is 150. So my 1000 rupees is anyways going to be charged to these 4 products. But I have to decide or find out what I do of this 150. And for this, if you remember, we discussed this concept, what will be done of this 150. Now, where you will charge this 150 or how it will be treated? The question is, what is the treatment? This depends upon the reason for which you have worked overtime. Now, you could have worked overtime for so many reasons. I started with, what if you have worked overtime for abnormal reason? Then what will happen? Here, for all products, I will use the normal rate of 100 for charging. Now, this will charge total 1000. And then by cost P&L, I will charge this premium of 150 rupees. This is the treatment in case overtime is worked for abnormal reasons. Second possibility is, I worked overtime on the special request of the customer. Students, if you remember, I had given an example that a customer came and he wanted his return to be prepared immediately at the time when I was about to close my office for the day. He insisted, ki, "Nahi, sir, I want the return to be done today itself." If I work for him, and he, who is this customer? He is this customer D in my example. So D is the one for whom I'm going to work overtime on his special request. Then all the remaining three products are charged at normal rate. And to this customer, I will charge 175. That is my overtime rate. So entire premium of 75 into 2, that is 150, is charged entirely to this customer on whose request I have worked overtime. So when I'm working overtime at the special request of the customer, the entire premium is charged to that customer only. So other products will not have any impact. They will be charged at normal rate, and only this particular customer will be charged the entire rate, normal rate plus the premium. Then we discussed this point. What if there is a shortage? Shortage means I know that I will always be having shortfall of labor. In other words, I know that I have to always work overtime. In such case, when I'm calculating my charging rate, how do we find out charging rate? Total labor cost upon normal hours. Now in this, I will consider total labor cost as 1150. That is even the premium portion I'll consider as normal. Why am I considering this premium as normal? Because working overtime is by default because I am shortage of worker upon 10. So now my charging rate becomes 115. And in such case, I will charge every product at this charging rate. Now in this case, what will happen? The premium which I have incurred of rupees 150, that will get apportioned in all the products, that will get absorbed by all the products. Why I'm doing this? Because labor shortage is normal. So I know that this extra 150 I have to incur regularly. So for me, it is a normal part of my labor cost. Then if I have to work extra because of some extended production load, there is some extra workload. In that particular case, what I will do is I will charge all my products again at the normal rate, and this premium will be charged to production overheads account. So the premium that I'm incurring of 150 will be transferred or will be charged to the production overheads. My cost of products will not be burdened by this. Labor cost to the products will be charged at normal rate. And then came the last point. What if I have to work because of fault of some other? Obviously, products will be charged at 100 only because it is not my product's fault. And this premium, I will be debiting to that department. So that department's cost will increase. All right. Till this point, we discussed in the previous lecture. Let me check what people have put. Actually, y'all, I think have put parallelly what I was explaining. So effectively, there is no question. Okay, fine. So students, we proceed. Now we start with what will be the impact of working overtime. Again, in the previous lecture, if you remember, I had informed you how to study. Now, the most important way of studying is not by reading what is given, but by first yourself trying to figure out what could be the answer. So instead of reading what is given, just try to figure out what could be answer of this. That if I have started working overtime, what will be the impact on the productivity and what will be the impact on cost. So instead of reading the answer, students, now develop this habit. Whenever you are studying any subject, I know it is a new subject, try to give yourself that time, try to give yourself that opportunity whereby you will try to think what could be the answer. Even if it is wrong, still it is very okay. At least you start giving your mind that particular chance of thinking and even of figuring out what could be the answer. This helps a lot. One, in retaining whatever you are studying. Two, it develops your thinking and the abilities to analyze your new things, which is a very important skill required. Now, generally what will happen, overtime is worked beyond the normal time. So if your normal working hours is 8 and you work extra 2 hours, one thing is for sure, by the time you reach this overtime portion, which will be beyond your normal working hours, you are exhausted. That is obvious. Your energy level, your speed will not be that which will be in the initial period. So definitely what will happen because of this, your speed will slow down, and hence whatever you are producing during the overtime hours would be lower. Interestingly, your output will reduce because of this, but at this same time, because the rate of overtime is higher than normal rate, the labor cost of this period will be higher. And the combined effect is, since the numerator, that is labor cost, is high and the denominator, that is output, is low, so by default your cost per unit will be very high for the overtime period, which is not a good sign. Interestingly, there is a possibility that once workers realize this, that when they work overtime, they are paid high, they may purposefully reduce their production during the normal time. So they will intentionally lower their speed even for the 8 hours. And this is done intentionally so that they can earn higher wages. So even this may happen that over a period, your normal time productivity also reduces because this is done intentfully by the workers. Fine. Now, if this is the impact, which is obviously a very negative impact, then obviously you should have control over this. You should not let this happen. But let me tell you, students, please also pay attention on this. Working overtime occasionally is in fact a good sign. Yes, if you have to work overtime occasionally, it means you are working beyond capacity. Your demand is very high. And that is why occasionally on different time, a period of time, you are asked to work extra. It means you have extra workload. But it may also mean negatively that your planning is not correct, because of which you did not work properly in the initial time and you are working overtime later. Like generally how it happens in case of students and studies. Now, when the exams are not nearby, you know that, okay, still the further attempts are left. There is still November attempt, then there will be January attempt. My attempt is in May. Right now, you may be laid back. And then suddenly after the January attempt, you realize, okay, now it is my turn. I have my attempt. And then you start working hard. But then since you have to cover a lot of portion, you start sitting late hours. So working occasionally is a good sign, but it may also maybe because of you did not plan your work properly right from the start. So in order to control, you have to ensure that there is proper planning right from day one. Now I'm talking about you, because I had mentioned that for labor, I'll be talking about you. For material, we'll be going to kitchen. So for labor, everything is related to you. So please focus on this and also start implementing whatever we are studying in labor to your day-to-day life. So proper planning and management of the work and of yourself, both is important. So planning of your studies and of your own self, your health and everything is important. Second, keep observing the output rate during the normal time so that you know that whether the workers have intentfully reduced the output during the normal time so that they work and get extra payment, whether this is happening or not. For this, keep a watch. So similarly, when you are studying right now, keep a target, a daily plan, a daily target, and at the end of the day, please check whether or not you could meet the target. If not, analyze what are the reasons so that right from day one, you are keeping yourself in check so that later on you don't have to overburden. Then, now this will happen generally when there is a hierarchy. Overtime should be worked only when higher authorities who are competent will allow. So no lower authority like supervisor, etc. should allow this. Only production manager or a person of that equal post should allow. So that automatically what will happen when you go to them for taking permission of overtime, that person will have a cross check and maybe things may not go haywire. Most important, regular reporting should happen so that the senior management is also aware of and they may take corrective action if required. And most important, there should be upper limit. Dear students, this I will also request you that in your daily life schedule, please ensure that you will not over exhaust yourself. Generally, students do this in last 2-3 months because, as I said, initially you have not properly paid attention to your studying time and your study efficiency. So later on, when the exams near up, you work overtime. People sit for 16, 18 hours, which is okay. I don't have a problem. But the point is, if you are overburdening yourself physically at that time, plus mentally because you are overburdened with the studies, and thirdly, emotionally also because you are under a huge pressure at that time. So three things, if you are overburdening at the same time, it may take a big toll of yourself, and it may happen that by the time you reach your exam dates, you are totally exhausted. So this should not happen. Plan it properly. I'm not saying don't work for late hours, but it should not happen that you are only sleeping for 4 or 5 hours and that is happening for 2 or 3 months at a stretch. It is not good. In fact, it is not recommended for levels like inter and final because the question papers over here are more objective. When I say objective, it does not mean fill in the blanks or match the pairs. It means it requires you to analyze the question more. Also, the MCQ questions which are there in many papers, those will require your proper analysis of the question before you start answering. So for that, your mind should be fresh, active. And if you have overburdened yourself for 3, 4 months or even 2 months at a stretch, sleeping 3 and 4 hours a day, it will exhaust your mind totally. And it may happen that you may not be able to handle the paper effectively. So this point of overtime is very relevant for you for preparing for the exams. So just implement this. Next, we move on to the third concept, that is idle time. If you remember, I had already explained you what is idle time. Idle time is the time where you are present in the factory. So this time you are present in the factory morning 8 to evening 4. Our original example that day also. But there are some gaps in between where you are not doing any productive activity. Now, initially, the first gap was at the start itself, which was the setup time, making the machine ready. You are also getting ready by putting the uniform, some safety gadgets. So 10 minutes, no production because you are still preparing or making things ready. And then you have different types of breaks. You may have change over time, like you have completed one subject, now you want to start the other subject, so you will keep this books, open another book, see the study plan, etc. So these are the times which are unproductive. So you are present, you are available, but that much time there is no production. So the unproductive time is generally the idle time. Now, it is not that idle time is always bad. Generally, this word idle appears to be very wrong. That is not the case. Because, again, like all other things, there may be some obvious reasons, some reasons where idle will happen, or rather, I'll say has to happen. Like break has to be there. You need to give yourself break. Like if you're sitting, you should get up and do some movement. So to keep yourself fit, to keep your body parts in a good condition. And also this helps in effective studies because if you're sitting in the same position for long hours, it is also not recommended because over time your mind gets lethargic when you're only in one position for long hours. So these are some by default necessary breaks that you require. So those are considered as normal. Abnormal idle time is the one which is happening for reasons which are either not correct or which are beyond your control. So there could be two reasons of abnormal: controllable and uncontrollable. Controllable are one which is happening because of your mistake. So this should not have happened. Maybe you could have controlled it with proper planning and proper management, like power cuts. Now you cannot keep a check on the electricity board, but you can always have a power backup if your work is such that it will require continuous power. For example, I'm taking this session online. Now I have to ensure that I should have proper power every time and also uninterrupted internet connectivity. Now, if there is any possibility of power cuts, I should have a power backup. In fact, even I should ensure this that my internet connection and certain plugs are also linked to that particular power backup so that even if there is a failure in electricity, my lecture should not stop. So this is where I can control. But if I don't pay attention and if this happens, then it is my mistake. So these are the abnormal idle time but controllable. Similarly, machine breakdown. See, machine breakdown may also be uncontrollable. So here I have put it in both places. But many a times machine breakdown happens because of improper maintenance or irregular maintenance, like you're using your vehicle but you're not sending it to service station for months at a stretch. If this is the case, then maybe one day while driving, while you are going for some very important urgent work, your vehicle may break down, and this could have been avoided with proper regular maintenance. Similarly, many times there is abnormal idle time because of your improper planning, as I said in case of study. So all these could be avoided, but these are abnormal because they should not have happened. Uncontrollable ones are like which happens because of reasons which is beyond your control. There is some fire, floods, any other natural calamity, etc. So these are some of the causes of abnormal. Normal, we have already discussed what are the causes. All this is important theory. What is the treatment? Please, students, remember, I have mentioned this. Again, this chart, I will say it is a mother chart for treatment of any type of loss. If you remember, we saw a similar chart when we were discussing the treatment of material scrap, material shortage. So whenever you're dealing with treatment of any type of loss, this is the standardized chart. One, find out the reason for that loss. If it is abnormal, there is only one treatment. It will go to cost P&L, nothing else. Maximum here, you are just dividing it between controllable, uncontrollable for your future reference. So that controllable, at least you will take steps to control, but the treatment is same. It will be charged, it will be transferred from your labor cost account to cost P&L account only. But if it is normal idle time, that is the one which is going to happen, rather which is inherent, which is required, that is called as normal. Then you find out whether it is of your direct labor or if it is of your indirect labor. If it is of direct labor, it is charged to production. How? In your total labor cost, we include the wages or the cost of normal idle time. But in denominator, when we take total labor hours, we deduct the time which is normal idle time. So when we do this, automatically what happens? Your wage rate is inflated. Inflated because this normal idle time cost gets embedded, mathematically gets apportioned, average out, because of which your per labor hour rate, which is the charging rate, gets inflated. So when it is of direct workers, you charge it to your product or production by inflating the wage rate. So this is what is the treatment. Is this clear? Any questions, students? And when it is of indirect workers, since the labor cost of indirect worker itself is charged to overheads, since the labor cost itself is charged to overheads, automatically any normal idle time will also be charged to overheads. So this is the treatment of idle time cost in costing, right? So let me take your questions. Amira, do one thing, beta. You may ask questions in Hindi because I cannot take the entire session in Hindi. Do one thing now there are so many gadgets. I think you should install one gadget. Many people are asking me for this in different classes. I'll suggest one simple thing. Those who want the lecture to be in their vernacular language, I'll suggest one thing. Whatever gadget you're using, your laptop or your mobile, install that app which will give you that subtitles, like how you get in movies or in various series. So if you want it in Hindi, maybe put that gadget, and nowadays all these apps and gadgets are free of cost. So install that so that whatever I'm speaking, you can immediately get that particular thing in Hindi, in Marathi, in Punjabi, etc. And please do that. See, I always believe that studying should happen in your vernacular language itself, because that is what will connect the most, right? So sorry, but I cannot take everything in Hindi or any vernacular language, but you may post your question. I'll definitely answer it in your language. Yes. Nitish sir, if it's uncontrollable, then it also occurs to our competitors. Oh. Nitish, see, if something is uncontrollable, it is not necessary it will occur to your competitors also if you're talking about abnormal. Why? Because if you see the reasons for abnormal, uncontrollable, it is fire, floods. It will not happen with everyone. In fact, what is uncontrollable happening to everyone is what is normal. So students, please pay attention that whatever is uncontrollable and happening to everyone is what is normal, right? So Nitish, I hope I have made you clear. So uncontrollable, abnormal will not happen to your competitors, right? What is the difference between normal idle time and controllable abnormal? See, normal idle time is something, Manu, one, which will happen always, which is inherent. Like as I said, every morning I require 5-7 minutes to get the system ready to start your class. Everybody requires some time to set up or be ready for that work. That is the normal idle time. What is controllable abnormal? See, abnormal is something which should not happen, which is never expected. It always happens unexpectedly. So that is what is abnormal. So abnormal cannot be equated with normal. Abnormal and normal are always different, whether it is controllable abnormal or uncontrollable. Nitish is asking, sir, Nitish, why you all are putting me a direct message? Kindly put it to all so that everybody will understand this. So Nitish is asking, sir, if it's uncontrollable, then it also occurs to Acha. I answered this. Divya, explain again. Hardik is saying grammarly. Okay. Treatment of direct again. What is this grammarly or captions? That's why I'm saying. So you can always use these apps with your vernacular language option. Correct. Acha, even Zoom has this option. Excellent. Omkar is asking, why is controllable abnormal cost not includable? I think Omkar, I've answered this. Because abnormal will never be included. It is not something which will happen. Even if you are including, it may happen that in this month abnormal has happened, next month definitely abnormal will not happen. So your own cost will be changing every month. So that is why abnormal cannot be included. And second reason, which we discussed even in the previous lecture when we were discussing the material shortage or something, that if you include it, I was asking this to someone, why will your customer pay? If I'm charging extra to you, and that is because of abnormal, which is happening occasionally even to me, forget about my customers or competitors, even for my case, it will not be there every time. So in this month only, if I'm charging extra because I've included abnormal, anything, controllable, uncontrollable, you as a customer will not buy from. Yes, Satish. Satish, go ahead, beta. Sai Charan, Satish, please ask your questions by unmuting because I think that will be more relevant. Satish, I have given you the permission to unmute. I have unmuted you.
Sir,
Yes.
good morning, sir.
Good morning, beta.
Sir, normal direct ideal time charged to production by inflated wage rate.
Hmm.
What is that? What does that mean, sir?
But I explained, na? I explained it here. See, when I was explaining over time also, that when I increase this charging rate, my charging rate should be 100. But if I'm considering anything as normal, like here, in this case, when I'm working because of shortage of labor, what I've done, I've taken entire 1150, which includes this overtime premium and divided by my total hours. So my now charging rate, which should have been 100, has become 115. So this extra 15 is the inflation. So whenever you charge anything by inflating the rate, it is like this. See here, now in case of idle time, when I will take total 10 hours, but from that I'll reduce, let us say 1.5 is my idle time hours in a day, then what will happen? My total cost is for entire 10 hours, which is including even the idle time wages. But while dividing, I'm dividing it only by 8.5 hours. So you can understand this logically. Cost in the numerator is of 10 hours, but by divided by this 8.5 hours. So now the per hour rate will definitely be mathematically, it will be higher. That is what is it is meant by inflating the rate. And now once this becomes my labor charging rate, when I charge to any product using this rate, I'm also charging some portion of this normal cost. Maybe it is overtime, maybe it is idle time, that will get charged to my product. I hope I could explain you and answer your query.
Okay, sir.
Perfect, na? You understood, na? or still there is some doubt? Satish. Okay. Omkar, how to charge irregular work overtime costs in service sector entities as there is no production or factory departments? See, firstly, Omkar, I have not understood what you mean by irregular work overtime cost. First thing. Second thing, if anything is irregular, I'm assuming it is unexpected. If it is unexpected, beta, we never include it in our cost of or the charging rate. If it is relating, if it is normal, it will go to your overheads. If it is abnormal, it will go to cost PM. So at least this is what is my understanding of your question. Still, if you have something else, please unmute and ask. Hardik is asking, but I think now you all are allowed to put message in general, so that everybody can see. So don't put direct messages. Sir, scrap in material is subtracted from total cost. Yes, Hardik, you're right. But which scrap? Normal loss scrap. Only that is deducted, because when in denominator, you deduct the normal scrap quantity. So by default in numerator, you will deduct the normal scraps, normal losses scrap value. So denominator, you are deducting the quantity of that normal loss. In numerator, you are deducting the scrap value of that, right? Super. Any questions further, students? Students, I'll prefer you all unmuting and asking, because that will be easy for me also to understand. And many times conceptual questions cannot be understood in the form of what you have put in the chat. So it is better that you unmute and ask. Excellent. Now we are on the last part of labor, that is the computation of labor remuneration. But before I go to that, I want to take an interesting part which I had mentioned in the last lecture, that is relating to the labor accounting, the journal entry, right? But alongside that, let me first take you to module so that even we look into the module and see. Now see, we have been discussing all this. Your labor cost component always includes so many things. It includes your wages, allowances, overtime payment, all the statutory contribution by employer, etc. And it also includes all the types of facilities. All this is part of labor cost. You may be a direct worker, you may be indirect worker. Again, who is direct, indirect, we have discussed in lecture 1. In relation to labor, the worker whose work can be identified with my output is direct worker. Whose work or whose time cannot be identified with my output is indirect. So in simple words, the worker who is engaged in the production is direct worker. But the worker who is supervising this, or who is the manager, or who is some person sitting in the accounting department, is indirect. So that is the difference between direct and indirect employees. Then we came to the labor cost control. If you remember, I had mentioned that labor cost control is not about controlling total, but it is about keeping the per unit labor cost as low as possible. So labor cost is not reducing the total wage bill, but keeping it low in per unit. Now, what are the important factors of employee cost? Now, this is very theoretical. You have to assess your manpower requirement. You have to ensure that there is control in timekeeping, etc. So I think this is fine. Then how employee cost is collected? What do you mean by collection of employee cost? You have to find out what is the total labor cost. How it is done, that is explained. So first you do timekeeping. By that you record the time for which the worker is present. Now you start processing the wage bill, or you start preparing the employee's total labor cost. How that is done? You go and check his salary contract. Okay, you find out this is the rate promised to him, or this is his wage rate for this year. With that particular rate, you start computing his basic wages. To that, you add different types of allowances again that you get from his salary contract. To that, you will find out what are the different statutory payments to be done, and accordingly, you will do his total labor wage bill processing. And then comes the accounting part, or the recording part. So you have timekeeping, you have time booking. We studied all this. So this is the payroll procedure. Procedure means the manner in which the total wages is computed. So firstly, you have this timekeeping department. Timekeeping department will find out or will record the time. The personnel and the HR will have the details of the employee in terms of their contract or what all things they have promised to pay to the employee. Both things will be, both the details are given to the payroll department. So timekeeping will give the record for which the employee was present. HR department will give the salary contract details. On this basis, payroll department will be finding out the total wages or salary payable every month to that particular employee. This data then goes or comes to us, that is the cost accounting department. According to that, the cost accounting department will now pay the monetary portion to the employee, and whatever it has to pay to different bodies like Provident Fund, ESIC, that will be paid to them. So this happens every month. Employee gets his monetary portion of salary, and the payment to respective statutory bodies is also done. So this is how your entire every month's labor processing happens. Now, this is what I wanted to explain you in terms of accounting. So let me take a practical example. So let us take example of September month. Now during this month, the basic plus allowance plus all types of bonus incentive comes to rupees 25 lakhs. Now pay attention, students. As per different laws applicable, you have to make certain statutory payments. So I'll take example of Provident Fund. Now, in that, you have two things. One is the employer's contribution, that is what the company has to pay. And the second is the employee's contribution, which the company has to deduct from the employee's salary. Let us say this comes to 250. Okay, this is too high. Let us say it comes to 50,000. Correct? Then there are some deductions that have to be made from salary. What are these deductions for? One is some loan is taken by the employee. So loan installment has to be deducted, which is rupees 1 lakh. So that deduction is there, right? So broadly, this type of details are there. Now, when I do accounting, till date, we have seen a simple entry of wages or salary to bank. But I had mentioned this in the last lecture. This is not completely correct, especially in case of big organizations where all these things are present. So now how your entry happens. Now, please understand what I will debit in this wages and salary. I'll debit that portion which is cost to the company. Now, what is the cost to the company? It is this plus it is this. So the total amount which has to be debited is 25 lakhs 50,000. Correct? But pay attention, students. What I'm going to pay to the employee is 25 lakhs, which I'm supposed to pay in the monetary portion. This I don't have to pay to the employee. This I have to deposit it with the organizations, right? The Provident Fund organization, etc. This is what I'm going to pay to the employee. But from that, I have to deduct this. Please pay attention. I have to deduct this. So how do I proceed with this? This is the debit entry. So to Provident Fund contribution payable, employers 50,000, employees 50,000. So effectively it is 1 lakh. So both these things I have covered. Further, to loan recovery 1 lakh. And then comes to bank. That is what I will be paying you in monetary amount. What I will be paying you? I will be paying you this total minus 2 lakhs. So it is 2350. Now what will happen? I will pay this amount to the Provident Fund body, which was payable. So now I will write Provident Fund contribution payable, which was credit over here. Now it is debited again to bank, and this entire 1 lakh is paid at the end of the year. So this is CTC, cost to company. This is the net salary or the cash in hand salary. Normally, whenever any type of when you join any organization, when you ask them salary, they will say this is the CTC and this is what you are going to get in hand. So this is the net salary that you get in hand. So this is in fact a very small entry. This can be expanded by including more statutory payments, by including more deductions, because every month there could be many deductions from the employee's account. Like he has committed to deposit in some statutory body on his account, but he wants it to be deducted from his salary and deposited. He's making some other savings which has to be deducted from his salary and deposited. He's making contribution to Prime Minister, some relief fund or something which has to be deducted. So this deduction list can be huge. Everything will be deducted from his salary at the time of payment, and it will be paid by the employer to that particular agency directly. Plus, there could be more statutory bodies to whom payment is made. ESIC is there, different other employee benefit funds are there. So this entry will get expanded. But broadly, the key components are what has to be debited to my salary or wages is the cost which is there to the company, which is going out of my pocket, which is the salary which I have promised plus my contribution to various funds. So my cost is this much. However, what will be going in hand to the employee is net of the total salary which the employee has earned minus whatever has to be deducted out of his pocket or her pocket. Students, I hope you all have understood this. This is the actual entry for labor, and this could be expanded by including more items. Ajay Surya is asking, sir, what about loan treatment? I think I have already considered loan treatment. Yes, Hi Charan, you are right. So if TDS is there, this amount will get further reduced. So that's why I'm saying this now entry can be expanded. So Jay, this question is good. See, sir, what if there is a TDS? So let us say in this there is a TDS also. So again, this amount will be further reduced by the amount of TDS. So it will be 2 TDS payable. So let us say TDS payable is coming to 50,000. So that would be deducted. And then you'll have bank, which is now 23 lakhs. And this TDS payable on the due date will be deposited by me. So I said, yeah, all these, there are so many statutory payments which have to be done. All these are to be deducted from your salary. And to that extent, your in-hand salary reduces, right? Extra wages paid, pay PF applicable hoga. Lalit, understand this. These things, these questions, whether extra wages pay PF applicable hoga any, is dependent on the respective acts, Provident Fund Act, ESIC Act, etc. Right? So you have to go to respective acts to understand. Sai Charan, sir, but if these respective amounts will be remitted to respective departments, yes, they are remitted to respective departments, Sai Charan. So that is why the second part is I'm making payment to respective department. PF I have deposited with PF, TDS I have deposited with income tax. Any other deduction which I'm doing will be deposited to respective accounts. Correct, Sai Charan? Perfect. So students, this is the actual labor entry. This is how it happens. Only this entry will be expanded to include more items. Perfect. Is this clear to all? Great. Sir, in exams, do we have to PF in question? Like in income tax, it is 12% of basic plus D. Hardik, it may be there, but Hardik, firstly, please now start putting messages to all so that everybody will understand the question and they will understand what I'm answering. Now, Hardik's question is, sir, exams, do we have to compute the PF like they will give you a percentage, and how in income tax it is basic plus DA or DA if terms provide, etc. See, this may happen in exams, but the point is, even if they are giving percentage, they will make it very clear, Hardik, you have to compute 12% on what. So don't worry that you will have to apply the income tax logic here. You'll have to decide that. Don't worry. If they give it in percentage, which is actually the correct way, because all these things in the act are given in percentage only, but that will be specified percentage of what. Fine. Bhavna is asking, sir, why employer's contribution in PF is deducted? Okay. So I think, Bhavna, you are asking about here why I have deducted this employer's contribution. So please understand, when I have debited this, I have also included the employer's portion here. This is never going to be given to the employee in hand. So firstly, actual employee salary is only 25 lakhs, but I have already included 2550. So this 50 is the employer's portion because it is my cost. So I have to include it in my labor account. So this has to be deducted because anyways, it will not be given to you. It will be going in the PF account itself. So that is deducted. Plus anyways, this has to be deducted because it is going out of your pocket. So I hope, Bhavna, I've answered your question and you have understood this. Realme C15. I don't know whose parents are keeping this type of name, but the name I'm getting is Realme C15. Nice name. So Realme is asking me, sir, partner salary is also included there. See, but a partner salary will not be included here because partner salary, actually salary to partner, remuneration to partner is technically distribution of profits. So distribution of profits, yes, good, Pooja. So distribution of profits, Pooja, is not a part of your employee cost, at least in terms of accounting. So you have a very good question, Pooja, that whether we include partner salary over here. Answer is no. Partner salary is debited to partner salary account so that in the firm's profit and loss account, it should reflect specially differently. So when you see the profit and loss of the firm, you have salary as a different line item and partner salary as a different line item. And this will be more relevant when you check the Income Tax Act. When you study the PGBP chapter, you will find out that over there also, there are certain specific restrictions and calculations applicable to partner salary. So if you merge it in this salary, that will not be able to be identified. So it has to be shown separately for all these reasons. Yes, you're right, Hardik. Section 40, clause B. Perfect. Any further questions, students, relating to this? I should say I'm really happy to see the level of questions and also the level of involvement that you all show. That is good. So I also enjoy more explaining. Avinash is asking, sir, as partner salaries like his business income. See, another important thing, students. What is the treatment of that item in your books is none of my concern. So it may be business income for you, it may be HP income, it may be other sources income. That makes no difference for me. I am doing accounting in my books. So I will see what is the treatment in my books. If for me it is a labor cost, I'll put it in labor cost irrespective of whether you show it under salary head or HP head or other sources head. So it may happen that certain item in your books may be other sources head. But still, if it is labor cost for me, I'll put it in my labor account only. So understand this, your accounting will not affect my accounting. Perfect? Good. So let me take you to the next part then, which is the last part. See, we have discussed all this idle time, overtime, and these are all very interesting calculations. See, somebody was asking me whether they will give percentage. So you'll find that certain things are given as percentage only. So DA is 120% of basic. So it will be only on basic. So as I mentioned, they may give you percentage, Hardik, but it will be very simple. So it won't be difficult to calculate, right? So overtime, reasons and treatment, all these things we have discussed. This is the working of overtime. So if you're doing working of overtime on daily basis, then you'll find out on daily basis. If it is on weekly basis, then you just simply make total and find it out on weekly basis. So we discuss all this in theory, right? And these are all very simple calculations. I'll request everyone to go through them. Now, this is how labor cost is charged, what they have mentioned as utilization. Now, if you remember my first lecture, I have emphasized on this word, identify. So to charge any cost, you have to identify. Identify means link. How much labor I have utilized on this product. That is the time booking. So now let us link all these words. So I mentioned the word identify in the first lecture, which is also replaced by the word link. So when you want to do costing, you should be able to identify your cost with your product. So if this is my product and I want to charge labor cost, the labor cost, which is direct, is the one which I can link with this. Okay, of this labor, how much time is utilized or spent on this particular product? If that is identifiable, then I'll find out his time booking. From his time booking sheet, I'll find out how much time during the day he spent on this product. And for that much time, I will charge him or charge this product that particular worker's labor cost. So let us say that worker has spent 2.5 hours on this particular product. So when I'm doing costing of this particular product, I'll take 2.5 hours into the charging rate of that employee so that I'll charge the labor cost to this particular product. So this is what is identification. Then we come to this part, which I wanted to explain, that is computation of wages. We'll just take a short 2 minutes break. Fine. So let us go to the last part of this chapter, students. This is dealing with computing the wages, that is computing your labor payment or labor wages that has to be paid. Omkar is asking, sir, illustration 5, sub question B. If there is a mention of another department, let's say selling or distribution, that means that overtime costs will be charged to the latter department. Please confirm. Illustration 5B. Where is 5B? 5B. Where overtime is worked is irregularly. Where is other department better? When it is worked irregularly to meet production requirements, if you remember, when it is worked occasionally, we charge the premium to the overheads. So it will be charged to overheads and it will be charged to overheads of production department only. Why it will go to selling department? See, so if you are working or irregularly, then you will charge the normal rate only to your products. So labor cost charged to the products or your jobs would be the normal rate. and whatever premium you have paid. So the premium that I have paid is extra, let us say 175. So 75 rupees is the premium. That premium, whatever amount it comes to, it will go to the factory overheads. Why? Because we are talking about labor cost, and labor is the one who is working in factory. So whenever we say charge it to overheads, it has to be overheads of factory only. Selling overheads will not come. That point, if it is charged to other department, applies when it is because of fault of other department. And even in that case, the other department is the other production department. Here, selling department will never come. So this labor cost, the idle time or overtime, will never go to selling department. Selling department labor cost is different. Over there, it is the salary paid to the salary staff. Here, when we are talking about all this, we are talking about the production workers. So production workers, if they are mentioning anything here that it has to be charged to overheads, you have to always interpret as charged to production overheads only. Perfect. Good. Okay. So now we have the remuneration or the wages system. Let us go to that. So I call it as system of wages or labor remuneration calculation. Now, broadly, there are two systems. One is piece rate and the other is the time rate. Now, in piece rate, how do you find out the wages payable to the worker? You will find out the output. This will be in units, that is the pieces. And you will find out the piece rate. Now, what is the piece rate? The rate which is given per unit. So let us say, for example, during a week, worker has produced 240 units. So this is his output, which is in units, which is the pieces. And you have to find out what is the labor cost per piece. So let us say the labor cost per piece is rupees 20. Then you get the wages payable to this particular worker for the week, which comes to rupees 4,800. Jay Lakshmi, why is your mic unmuted? You have any question, beta? Good.
Sir.
Yes, go ahead. Now, Srini, you want me to be slower? Please let me know wherever you all want me to be slower, students, because I have some time bound targets, so I need to complete the topics within that time. But still, if you all want me to be slower, please inform me. Because I know these are subjects you are studying for the first time. They are technical. No problem. So piece rate, how do you compute wages? It is the output, which is in pieces. It may be units, it may be liters, etc. Multiplied by whatever wage rate is fixed per unit. Now, let me inform you, students, presently, this mechanism is not prevalent. Very rarely you will find this type of mechanism, and wherever it is applicable, like in case of like in our Maharashtra, the Ganpati idol making. In case of your Bengal, it is the Durga idol making. Over there, generally, I have found this particular mechanism being used so that they pay to the workers on the basis of the number of idols or number of output they have done. Otherwise, in general, majority cases, it is your time rate. So now this mechanism of paying as per the output is very rare or it is not in vogue. Then coming to time rate, it is the hours for which you are present in the factory. Now this is important. It is your present hours into the time rate. So let us say during a week, a worker has worked for 50 hours and everything is normal. There is no overtime. And the wage rate per hour is rupees 100. Now, please understand this rate and this rate are different. This rate is per piece. This rate is per unit of time, which is generally hour. Then the wages, which is payable for that particular week is 5,000 in this example. Yes, Omkar, piece and unit is same. These are all synonyms. So we use, that is why I mentioned units also, na beta. So it may be when I'm saying piece rate, piece is what? Item, one item. We always say one item, one piece, which also in our mathematical terms means unit. See, piece is a word which we use in our day-to-day language. In mathematics, it will always be called as units, kgs, liters, etc. Right? So piece rate and unit is same. Perfect. So this is broadly the mechanism of computing wages, where this is the one which is used more regularly or which is more prevalent, which is the time rate. Yes, Mithun. So time rate is the rate which is given per hour. So it is your rate per hour, like here I have mentioned 100 per hour. Fine. Now, what are the wage rate systems which are given? So the wage rate system is, the first system of wage rate is simple time rate or straight time rate. What is simple time rate or straight time rate? This is the answer. So where you find out the hours for which the person is present, you check the time rate from the HR as per your policy, and you find out the wages which is to be payable. Acha, remember one thing, you may find this very odd because you'll say, sir, our wages are per month. But we are not talking about employees, we are talking about workers. And workers, the one who are paid on hourly basis, that is how this computation happens. If your if your wages is fixed per month, then the calculation will be on monthly basis. And over there, if you have exceeded the leave beyond the leaves which are allowed, then out of your total wages fixed for the month, the deduction is made for leaves. How it will be done? Simply divided by 30 and or divided by 25, as per the all these calculations are given in the salary contract, how anything will be calculated. But we are not discussing that because we are computing wages and not salary. That is why here the calculations are per unit or per hour and not monthly. So the first system of calculating wages is the simple time rate, which is also called as the state time rate. The working is simple. Find out the hours present multiplied by the rate. So this is what we have done. Similarly, the other system is the simple piece rate or the state piece rate, which is number of units output into the rate per unit. Both things we have discussed. Now we come to the most important one for which you get questions also, that is the premium bonus plans. Omkar, yes, you may have combination of both. Up to some portion you will give fixed, and then later on, beyond that, you will give per unit. So there can be combination. See, there is no standard way of computing wages. We are only studying some generic systems. Generic means which may not be actually applicable as it is. There would be variation, but just for understanding purpose, they have given us broadly that these are the mechanism of computing wages. But Omkar, you are right. In different organizations, variation of these systems may be used, combination of these systems may be used. You may in your own organization determine a different way of making payment. Like generally in all our CA offices or all corporate offices who are hiring professionals, they have a fixed portion of wages plus they have variable. Or they may be having a fixed portion of wages, and if you work overtime, if you come on vacation days also, they may pay you extra. So there are a combination of this. Now we come to the most important part, which is the practical part majorly of this chapter, is the premium bonus plans. Now, before I explain you the premium bonus plan, we have to understand a concept, standard time. This concept is used in many chapters. In fact, we have a special chapter itself, standard costing, where we are going to discuss more about this. But here, let us first start understanding it in this chapter itself. What is standard time? Standard time is the hours which should be required for a particular production. So standard is something which you can say is like the ideal, कि इतने time में ये काम होना चाहिए. It should be done in this much time, and what should be done, a particular production. So let us say I'm talking about 100 units of this pen. So 100 units of this pen should be made in, let us say the standard is given like this: 100 units of the pen should be made in 15 hours. should be, मतलब इतने में होना चाहिए. This is the standard. This is the perfect time. So 15 hours for 100 units is called as my standard. So what is standard? Standard is the time which should be utilized for completing that particular work. So even in case of your studies, many times we say that, okay, this chapter should be completed in this time, or this sum should be completed in this time. Generally, in terms of exams, we'll say that if the question is of 8 marks, it should be completed within some 12 minutes or maybe 13, 14 minutes. So this is the standard. Then comes the actual time. That is the time which you have actually utilized for doing that work, which may be more or less. I hope this is clear. Now comes the most important point. So please remember, this is the standard hours and the actual hours. So these terminologies would be used. It may also be called as ST, that is standard time. It may also be called as AT, that is actual time. Then we have the concept of time saved. What is time saved? It is the standard hours minus actual hours. So in my example, let us say I have given you the target of completing this in 15 hours. So for completing 100 units, you should have required 15 hours. But since your speed is good, you are more efficient, you are highly efficient, you completed the work in 12 hours. So I will say that you have saved my 3 hours. So 3 hours is your time saved, or it is also represented by TS. So remember this term, AT is actual hours, ST is standard hours, that is standard time, and TS is time saved. Now, if it would have been the other way around, the worker has utilized 16 hours, that is, he has worked or extra consumed hours, he had to work more for completing the same work. It means the worker is slow, his efficiency is low. In this case, my time saved is low. So time saved will not be negative. Yes, Vaishnav, you're right. So time saved represents your efficiency. Now, in this chapter, we are not calculating the efficiency percentage because it is not required. We will require the calculation of percentage efficiency in some other chapter, but I'll just show you how it is computed. Skill do work is most important with speed. See, Thambeshwari, whenever we are talking about this, we are assuming that you are doing the work with a particular level of skill. So when I'm saying 100 units are produced, the 100 units produced are of proper units or of good units. If you have done something which is defective, which is not as per the requirement, then it is not counted in your output. It will be counted as defective. In fact, you may be penalized for it. So when we are saying that you have completed some work of 15 hours and 20 hours, we are assuming, or rather, not even assumption, I'll say that is what is by default, that the output is appropriate. If it is not appropriate, if it is not matching the skill, it is not counted as output itself. Right? Now, please also remember how to compute percentage efficiency. Sorry, not savings, percentage efficiency. Percentage efficiency is calculated by the formula standard hours upon actual hours into 100. So for both these examples, let us say this is of worker A, this is of worker B. For worker A, your efficiency is 15 upon 12 into 100. For worker B, your efficiency is 15 upon 16 into 100. So obviously, this efficiency is higher. It is coming to some 133.33%. So here your efficiency is more than 100. So it shows you are highly efficient. Your efficiency is higher. Here it will be something in 90s something. So here your efficiency is below 100. So you are less efficient. So time saved, percentage efficiency. I hope these calculations are clear to all, right? So A is 125. Okay, 125. Perfect. So A's efficiency is 125%. So anything above 100 is considered as more efficient, highly efficient. And anything below 100 is considered as less efficient. Fine. So remember these terms: time saved, standard time, actual time, right? Now with this background, we go to the concept of premium bonus plans. Now, these are some of the plans which are used for computing wages. Again, as we discussed earlier, it may not be exactly that in real life these plans are applied. There may be variations, so fine, you will be working according to that. Now, what does your module says? The module says in premium bonus, we have one Halsey, then we have another that is Rowan. In fact, within Halsey also there are two types. So let me explain you how these plans work. So one is there is Halsey, another is Halsey where, and the other one is Rowan. Now, how does Halsey compute your wages? Halsey say your wages is actual time, that is actual hours, into the time rate, which is the rate per hour, plus Halsey says I'll give you bonus because you have worked extra or you are efficient. The bonus is 50% of what? Of the wages which is payable for the time saved. So like in my example, A saved 3 hours. So I'll just take this example as the basis to explain. So A completed the work of 15 hours in 12 hours. So actual time of A is 12, standard time is 15, and he has saved 3 hours. So how will the wages of A be computed by Halsey? The wages of A will be computed as actual time is 12 hours. Let us say the wage rate per hour is 100. So into 100 plus he has saved my 3 hours. So I will also make him payment for the 3 hours. But how much I'll make payment? Half. That is the bonus, 50%. And same if Halseware is applied. Halseware has the same formula with the only difference. Halseware says I'll pay 30%. Some books say 1/3. So this is the variation. You'll go by what the sum says. So if I compute wages of A by this formula, it will be 12 hours into 100 plus 30% of the time saved. This is how Halsey computes the wages. What is TR? TR is time rate. Okay, thank you everyone for answering. So time rate is the wages or the wage rate per hour. See, please understand students logical. If you are multiplying by actual time, that is hours, the rate also has to be per hour. So for multiplying anything, the denomination has to be same. So if you are taking hours as the denomination, rate has to be per hour. If you are taking units as the denomination, rate has to be per unit. If you are taking weeks as the denomination, rate has to be per week. So this is logical. So this is mathematics, right? Now, Srini is saying, sir, remaining 50%. Yes, I'll come to that. I'll explain the logic of these plans, which is the theory part. Now, this is how wages of A is computed. We'll not work more on Halseware. It is anyways not given in your modules also, but I just inform you because it may happen that in some cases they will say Halsey with 30% bonus. So you should not get confused. What is this 30%? There is a variation in Halsey where it says 30%. Otherwise, if nothing is mentioned, we'll take 50%. Now, again, I'll calculate the wages of Mr. B. For B, the calculation is again 13 hours because B has worked for 13 hours into 100, which is the time rate, plus nil. Why nil? Because B has not saved any of my time. Sorry, why I'm saying 13? B has worked for 16 hours. So see, this is the calculation, or rather, this is the data. So the same work of 15 hours, B completed in 16 hours. So the time saved of B is nil. So his actual time is 16 hours. So I'm making payment to B of 16 hours. So this is his wages. But since he has not saved any time of mine, I'm not paying him any bonus. Now, what do you understand from this plan? You understand that the plan, I'll say, is at least assuring you one thing, that is your minimum wages. Or I will put it differently, the time wages. So even the person who is efficient like Mr. A will get his wages for the time he has worked, plus the person who is less efficient like Mr. B, he will also get the wages for the time he has worked. So both are getting that minimum wages, which is equal to their time wages. But the worker who is more efficient will only get extra. That is in our case, Mr. A is getting extra, but Mr. B is not getting extra. So this is what is the difference, correct? Yes, hi Charan. You can also call it as normal wages. So it is normal wages or it is your time wages, right? It is also generally called as minimum wages. Then we come to a very special plan, which is row one. Again, row one plan is this. So row one is also going to pay you the minimum wages, which is your time wages. And again, row one pays you bonus. But the working of row one for bonus is not in percentage terms. It is having a very special working. So how does row one gives you bonus? So this is the bonus part. Again, one part is same between Halsey and Rowan. Both are giving you minimum wages. Halsey is also giving you minimum wages. Rowan is also giving you minimum wages. Again, the other part which is common is both will give bonus only if you are efficient or highly efficient. So you will get this portion only if you are more than 100% efficient. If your efficiency is less, like in case of B, it will be nil. Same thing will happen with Rowan. Only if you are more efficient or your efficiency is above 100%, you'll get this portion, which is the bonus portion, or else it will be nil. Now, the bonus is not calculated as a fixed percentage. It is calculated by this ratio. What is the numerator? It is time saved. Denominator is standard time. And interestingly, it is not multiplied by wages of time saved. It is multiplied by wages of your normal time. So here it is 80 into TR. So this is where Halsey and Rowan are very different. So taking the example of A, so A has worked for 12 hours. Now, here also it is 12 hours into 100. So in bonus computation also, you take the time for which he has worked, not the time which he has saved. So difference between Halsey and Rowan is, in Halsey, while computing bonus, you take the time saved, find out the wages of time saved and take 50%. Whereas in Rowan, you take the hours for which you are actually working. So it is 12 hours only, but the bonus is computed by dividing your time saved by your standard time. So you find out wages of your actual time and multiplied by this ratio, which is time saved upon standard time. In case of B, it will be 16 hours into 100, which is the wages for actual time, and this portion will be nil. I hope the difference between Hulse and Rowan working is clear to all. Tambeshwari, why I will not take -1 hour? Tambeshwari, I think you missed when I was explaining. Time saved, if it is negative, it will be 0. So we don't take a negative time saved, because if you take negative time saved, it will be giving you a negative impact on minimum wages. That is, your minimum wages will get reduced. So that does not happen. Minimum wages is guaranteed. It is assured. Now, there is a very interesting question of Nitish. Sir, in this example, B is getting extra. Yes, this is what it appears on the face of it. I was actually waiting for this. That, sir, in this, actually B is getting more than A. So if you find out the total wages of A as compared to B, B is less efficient. But you will say, sir, A is getting lesser as compared to B. Answer is no. But you have raised a very good question, Nitish. Why the answer is no? We are not understanding one thing. Here you have only calculated wages of A for 12 hours, whereas you are calculating wages of B of 16 hours. Now, please understand one thing, everyone. Both workers are present in the factory for 50 hours in a week. So, to find out their wages for the week, you'll have to take the time they are using on different jobs out of 50. Now, let us say, chalo, I'll make it, forget about 50, I'll take 16 only, 15 or 16 only, chalo. Now, let us say 16 hours, and it is the 2 days time. So, in 2 days, B could make only one job because he used his entire 16 hours on that. But what A has done, A has used 12 hours on this job, plus the remaining 4 hours out of 16, he would have worked on some other job, getting him more salary and even more bonus. So effectively, when we compare the 16-hour wages of both A and B, then you will get to know that A is getting much higher than B. So Nitish, you are right. but you are right only partially because you are only seeing the wages of A and B on this job where A required 12 hours, but B required 16 hours. But we don't pay wages only for that job. We pay wages for that whole week or for that whole day or for that whole month, where both have worked for equal number of hours because that is what is the time schedule given. In this case, when you see the wages for A and B for the whole week, then you will find that A is obviously getting much more wages because he is getting wages firstly for his basic time equal to B. So both are getting firstly for 16 hours. But along with that, A will also be getting bonus, which B is not getting. So this way, A is obviously going to get much more wages than B. I hope Nitish, I could answer you. Right? Nitish, Kasak, everybody who was having this doubt, I'm sure now it would have been clear to everyone. Which Avinash is asking, which method to apply is based on nature of organization. You are very correct. It is based on nature of organization. It is based on nature of output. And more importantly, it is based on the nature of industry, I will say. So if you're in textile industry, you have to see what other organizations in the same industry are doing. Generally, we follow all these mechanisms as per the industry in which we are working. So in hotel industry, the mechanism would be different. In your as I said, textile, it would be different. So manufacturing everywhere, the methods are different depending upon the industry. Omkar is asking, so we have to take proportionate time as regards to actual time for bonus. Yes, Rowan, you're right. So Nitish is saying now clear, it was in ratio proportion. Okay, yes, correct. I hope everybody understood whatever I have explained, right? Students, any further questions? Aniruddha is saying, sir, it can impact the quality of product. Worker will try to do faster if in Rowan method. See, understand one thing, students. Aniruddha, I have mentioned this. I think I was answering Tambeshwari or Srini, I don't remember, where I mentioned this, that when we are saying about output or anything, we are assuming the output is of the required quality. If in the haste of producing more, I have spoiled, firstly, it will not be counted as my output. Secondly, I may be even penalized because I have done loss for the factory or I've done loss for the employer. So here, when we are talking about any of these things, it means quality only or the output, which is as per my required specifications. So that is not correct to say that in the haste of doing more or in Rowan plan, there will be losses. That is not correct. There is going to be supervision. There is going to be top management who are going to take proper action if you are wasting the product by spoiling the output, right? Now, let us understand something which is given in theory of both these plans. So Halse, I just explained. Now in Halse, what does the theory says? Advantages, time rate is guaranteed. So this is I explained. Even if you are less efficient, you'll get the minimum wages. Now, this is very important, students. Please understand. You have to give some minimum wages to the worker, irrespective of his efficiency or speed, because if he is not getting the minimum wages, it may not be able to satisfy his basic needs of food, clothing, shelter, education for his children, medical, etc. And if that is not getting satisfied, the worker may not turn up for work again. So that is why it is a rule or a precedent, you can say, where you have to ensure that a minimum wages is paid. And that is why both these plans are giving you minimum wages irrespective of your efficiency. It is a system which is equitable to employer. Now here comes that 50% point. Somebody has raised this point that 50% is given to employee. What about the balance 50%? It is retained by the company, that is the employer. Answer is correct. But the logic is why? Please understand and appreciate one thing, students, that whenever the worker is showing efficiency, so let us say worker speed is higher. What should have been done in 15 hours? The worker completed in 12 hours. So he saved 3 hours. But in this particular case, it is not only attributable to his or her efficiency. The 3 hours saved by the worker is also attributable to good supervision, to good planning, to good machine condition, to proper management of all resources and a very good working condition. So all these have also contributed in worker giving a better output and higher efficiency. So all these plans, when they do not pay the worker the entire time saved wages as bonus, the reason is they want to keep some share in that bonus of the worker for the others who have contributed to the efficiency, like the supervisor, like the manager, and even the employer. So the bonus to supervisor, the bonus to manager, how it will be computed? Because they are not engaged in production directly. So you cannot find out their efficiency. You cannot find out time saved for them. So what happens is whatever time saved is by the worker, some portion of the worker's salary goes to the bonus to the supervisor or the head of that department. So when your team performs well, the team leader also gets the incentive. So let us say we are talking about a BPO, that is call centers, where we are also connected, where we keep on calling them for different services that we are using at times. Or you may have heard, if any of your friend is working in BPO, that they have fixed portion and variable portion depends upon their performance. But how is the performance of their supervisor or the team leader who are sitting above them seen? It is seen from the collective performance of all the people working under that team leader. So if their team gives a higher output or a better performance, the individual will get incentive bonus as per their respective efficiency, but the team leader or the manager also gets incentive on the basis of collective output efficiency of the team. So that is why that 50%, 30%, or in case of Rowan, that proportion is given to worker. Balance is for the other persons who have contributed. Then what are the disadvantages? Incentive is not as strong as piece rate. Obviously, you're not getting the entire portion. You're only getting the 50% portion. And the sharing principle may not be liked by employees. This is fine. Compared to this, what are the advantages of Row 1 plan? It is a foolproof plan because a worker cannot double his earnings. It is admirably suitable for encouraging moderately efficient worker as it provides a good return as compared to Halsey. Halsey is only giving 50%. If you see the percentage, the Row 1 percentage is generally higher. The sharing principle appeals to both employer and employee. What are the disadvantages? It is a bit complicated. See, explaining that you will get 50% extra is easy, but explaining you how much you'll extra you will get by that percentage, or the not percentage, that proportion is difficult. So a common man or a normal worker who may not be properly educated will not understand how much extra he or she will get under Rowan plan. And see, it is very important to understand how much extra you are getting, because that is how the motivation works. So if you know that with every extra hour you work, you get 500 extra, you get 2000 extra, it is easy to motivate you because you are counting every hour with that amount. But if I say that for every extra hour you work or whatever extra efficiency you will give, I'll do some calculation by that proportion. And then at the end of the month, I will tell you, this will not keep you motivated, because it is a human tendency that when you are putting in extra efforts, you generally count. Okay, I do this extra, I'll get this extra. This is a human tendency. And that is where Rowan fails, because Rowan cannot give you the exact amount how much you will be getting extra for doing this extra efficiency or extra output, because that is not calculatable. It will be determined only at the end. The incentive is weak at high production level as compared to Halsey, and the sharing principle fine. So these are some theoretical points relating to Halsey and Rowan. Yes, I'm taking illustration from class only, Srini, right? So these are the Halsey Rowan formulae. Now let us go to the workings of Halsey Rowan. So we start with 6. So calculate the earnings of worker under Halsey. I'll do for Rowan also. So for the same thing, we'll do Halsey Rowan both. Now the only problem is on this PDF, which is given by Institute, it is not editable. So I'm not able to even write. So I'll have to keep on switching, or maybe I'll just say orally so that you all can parallelly do it. So what it says, the rate per hour is 60. The time allowed. Now, see, these are some parallel terms. Time allowed means the standard time. So I asked you to do the work in 8 hours. You did it in 6 hours. So the time saved is 2 hours. So if I have to do working of this, so we are talking about illustration 6. We'll do the working by both our plans just for practice. So you completed the work in 6 hours. So your actual time is 6 hours. What is your time rate? It is 60, and time saved is this. The time rate is 60 rupees per hour. So this is your basic portion. And then here you get for time saved, which is 2 hours. Rate is 60, and you get at the rate of 50%. Here, You get by that formula time saved upon standard time into again the wages for the actual time. So please pay attention here. You get bonus also on the basis of wages for actual time, and it is multiplied by this percentage or proportion. Whereas here you get the bonus for the time saved portion with 50% as your sharing. So you get the wages under Halsey Rowan 4. I'll request you all to do parallel calculations so that we can understand the amounts also, right? 420, 450. Okay, so somebody has given me this 420, 450. Okay, good. Let me go to another example. 7 sum. It may be of row 1. We'll solve by both methods again. Okay, rather it is the same sum. So they have solved the same sum by also row 1 in 6 and 7. Fine. Now, 8 sum. So now from here, you have to pay attention because your actual exam sums are these. They're not difficult, but they are slightly now twisted. There would be some language interpretation. There would be some extra masala added to this. Now what they are saying, there are two workers, A and B. They are producing the same product using the same material. Their wage rate is also same. So both are working in the same department. Everything is same. Only difference is A is paid bonus as per row 1. B is paid bonus as per Halsey. Okay, fine. The only difference is their plans. Now, the time allowed is 50 hours. So time allowed means standard time is 50. A takes 30, B takes 40. So now I'll put this. So A, B, standard, actual, time saved. So standard is 50. A takes 30 hours. B takes 40 hours. So my time saved is 20 and 10. See, this basic working you have to do whenever you are doing any sum on Halsey one. What is the basic working? Standard hours, actual hours, generally given in the sum. Find out time saved. Fine. Now, what is further given? In the factory, the overhead is charged at the rate of 5 per hour. Okay. And the factory cost of the product is this. Now, what is interesting in this sum, students? They have created a sum which is more a mathematical sum where something is missing. Now, firstly, what is given in the sum? They have given you the factory cost. Now, I'm sure you would be knowing what is a factory cost. We discussed this in the first lecture when we were discussing the cost sheet, rather first and second lecture. So factory cost is direct material plus direct labor plus direct expense plus factory overheads. Now, direct expense is not there, so you may ignore it. Now, total of this is factory cost. Now, interestingly, they have said that both are working on the same product. Everything is same. Only the wage rate system is different. Now, the problem is if they have given factory cost, we require three things to make up to factory cost. Out of this is missing. So I assume let direct material cost be X. The other thing which is missing is in your direct labor, they have not given you the time rate. So I assume that also. Let the time rate, which will be rate per hour, be Y. Correct? For factory overheads, nothing is missing. They have given the factory overhead charging rate, which is per hour. Fine. Now I make one calculation. The calculation is of direct labor cost for worker A or worker B. Now A is using the row 1 plan. Row 1 plan formula you already know. Row 1 plan actual time, time rate plus time saved upon standard time into actual time grind. Now pay attention students. Actual time of A is known, that is 30. Time rate is not known, so we have assumed it to be Y. Time saved is known, that is 20. Upon standard time is known, that is 50. into again 30 into y. Correct? I hope this is clear to all. So what I effectively get is 30y. Then when I make computation of this, it will be 1.2, correct? So effectively I get 31.2y. Please just do parallel checking. Whatever I'm doing, because I'm doing calculations orally, kindly keep on checking. So the wages of A that I get as per this formula is 31y. Correct? Perfect. Nitish is saying 42y. Okay. It is not 1.2, it is 12. Okay, understood. Fine. So it is 12, not 1.2. So it is 42y. In the similar fashion, I do the calculation for B. Now B is following row 1. So it is 80 into TR plus 50% of time saved into TR. Please be clear with the formula. If you make a mistake in any one single figure also, the entire working will go haywire. Now, what is the actual time? It is 40 into time rate we have assumed as y plus 50% of time saved is 10 into time rate is y. So this becomes 45y. So the labor cost for worker B is 45y. Correct? Now I put both this in this equation. So for A, the equation of factory cost will be, I think factory cost is given in this sum. For A, the factory cost is this amount, 3490. So for A, the equation will be factory cost is 3490, which is equal to direct material, which we have assumed to be X, plus direct labor, which we have calculated as 42Y, plus factory overheads, which is actual time, 30 hours, into the overhead charging rate. What is the overhead charging rate? Somewhere it was given. Yes, 5. So overhead charging rate is 5. So into 5. So this will come to 150. 150 I'll shift here. So it will be deducted over there. So effectively, the final equation for A will be 3340 is equal to X plus 42Y. Now, similarly, I'll find out the equation for B. What is the factory cost given for B? For B, the factory cost given is 3600. Okay. So my equation is 3600 equal to material cost, which is X, labor cost, which we computed as 45Y, plus again actual hours, which is 40 hours into 5, which is the overhead charging rate. So this comes to 200, which when I shift here, it will be minus 200. So now my final equation would be 3400 is equal to X plus 45Y. Correct? Now, I'm sure you all are expert in maths. So simply, if I subtract both, so I'll write subtracting A and B. So what I will get here is 60. If I'm doing, let us say, B minus A to avoid the B minus A. To avoid the negative, and even if it is negative, not a problem, it will be same on both sides. Both sides will be negative, X will get cancelled, and here I get 3Y. So effectively, what I will get is Y is equal to rupees 20. And what was Y? What Y was time rate. So effectively, your time rate is rupees 20 per hour. So the answer that I get is Y is 20 per hour. Now, once I get Y, we all know in maths, now you can find X. So substituting Y in any of the equations. So let us say I take equation A, which is this. So 3340 is equal to X plus 42 multiplied by 20 because it was 42y. So 42 multiplied by 20 is 840. 840, when I shift over here, it will get deducted. So what I'm left with is x is equal to 2500, which is my direct material cost. Correct? Perfect. So let us go to the question. What the question is asking: compute the normal rate of wages. We have computed it is 20. Compute the material cost. We have computed it is 2500. Now prepare a statement comparing the factory cost. Simple. So my final answer is, I will say cost sheet, because they are asking me to prepare a statement comparing the cost. Cost sheet of worker A, of worker B. So direct material, direct labor, direct expense. This is prime cost plus factory overheads. So it is 2500, which is same for both. Labor cost is 42y and 45y. Y is 20. So it is 840 and 900. So it is 3340, correct? And this is 3400. Factory overheads is actual hours into overhead rate. So what was actual hours here? Actual hours was 30 and 40. So 150, 200. So you get the factory cost as 3490, 3600. This is answer for the third part. Correct, students? So this is how we computed this. So basically understand this, though it was a labor sum, but it was also a mathematic sum, where initially we assume certain things to be x and y. Then using the equations, we determined the value of x and y. So we got the value of y first. On that basis, we computed the value of x. And then finally, we came to the third part of the answer, which is comparative statement of both the jobs or both the workers. Perfect. Srini is asking, sir, in ideal condition, whether material cost of A and B would be same. Acha, I think you are asking ideal condition. See, Srini, yes, Pooja has given you the answer. Answer is yes. Why? I'll explain. Because when I'm saying the product is same, the job is same. So when the output item is same, then the material cost has to be same, Srini. The material cost will be different only when the products are different. So two workers working on the same output will be having same material cost. So let us say you are talking about this particular product. If I have to make and you have to make, if this product has to be made with this specification by you or by me, the material cost has to be same. Fine. I hope I've answered you. Is this clear to all? There is another question, I think. Okay, this is one. Now again, read the question. I have been focusing on this. The reading of the language of question is very important. So bonus is paid under Halse with 50%. As I said, there are two Halses. It may be 50 or 30 for the time saved. Equals the bonus paid under one. When will this statement hold good? This is interesting question. So again, this is more like a maths question where you have to prove something. If you remember your 9th and 10th standard algebra, there were certain things which were supposed to be proved by you. This is the same. What they are asking you to prove: bonus paid under Hull stay, where the bonus is 50%, and the bonus paid under Rowan, both are going to be same when this will happen. So you have to prove this. My answer is simple. Even in 9th and 10th, when we had to prove something, our teacher used to say, Vishal, put that as an equation. Automatically, you will get the answer. So this is illustration 9. So what I have to prove? To prove Halsey equals rho 1. Rather, we have to prove and find out when this will happen. So simply what I do is I put the formula plus half. 50% is also half into TS into TR. This equals rho 1, which is 80 into TR plus again 80 into TR. So both sides it is same. Only this is TS upon ST. Now on both sides this is same, so this will get cancelled. On both sides this is same, this will get cancelled. So what is left is here I am having only half. Here I am having TS, ST, 80. Sorry, here also I have TS, so that will also get cancelled. 1 second. So basically what I'm left with is 80 TS. So therefore, what I get, so when this will happen, that the Halsey and rho 1 will equate. This will happen when your standard time is double of your actual time. So let us say standard is 100 and you have completed the task in 50 hours. So standard is double of 50, that is 100. So this will happen. Or now interestingly, I say your efficiency is 200% because you have completed the work in half time. Or this is interesting. Actual time is equal to time saved. Correct? So this is the final conclusion. When this will happen, when your standard is double of actual, or when your efficiency is 200%, or your actual time and time saved are equal. Yes. Is this clear? So we have answered the first part. What was the first part? When this statement will hold good, we have found out the answer. Now, what is the second part? The time allowed is 8 hours. The hourly rate is 8. So both is 8. Standard time is also 8. The time rate is also 8. Prepare a statement showing bonus earned, okay, total earnings, okay, and the Halsey earnings. Achha, total earnings and Halsey earnings. I did not get the question. Under the Halsey system with 50% bonus for time saved and Rowan system for each hour saved progressively. So what they're asking me to find out, the time allowed is 8. Okay, prepare a statement showing bonus earned. Okay, total earnings, hourly earnings. Acha. Okay, under Halsey, 50%, Rowan 50% for each hour saved progressively. Oh, 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 oh. See the beauty of language. So they want us to prepare a statement where the data also has to be prepared by us. How? I'll explain. So this is important for each hour saved progressively. This last line, each hour saved progressively is important. So let me first prepare the data. So 10 sum. First, let us understand the data. The data is like this: actual time and standard time. Now, actual time is 8, but they have said that you have to find out the data where the time saved is, you're having time saved. See this language. This is beautiful language. For each hour saved progressively. So for each hour saved progressively, here the time saved is 0. Here it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let me take 2 more, 9, 10. So if I take this type of data, then what you are saying, Sai, standard time is 8. Huh? Different RTY, sir. What is RTY? What is RTY? I don't know the meaning of RTY. We have to take respective time like 876. Yes, this is what I've done, Omkar. But they want the
Sir,
time to be saved progressively. Yes.
sir, this is right. Sir, in the question it is mentioned as the time allowed is 8 hours, right? So that
Time
means
allowed
after
is 8 hours. Okay, okay. I thought actual
this is
time
the
is 8
standard
hours.
time. But in the real scenario, the standard time will be fixed, right? Sir, actual hours may be different, right? So it should be reversed then.
But I think, beta, in that case, what will happen if I go that way? So you mean to say I should freeze this
Yes,
and I
sir.
should change this. But then what I'll have to do, you understand? I'll have to take this as 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. That I think will not be very correct interpretation. Well, I'll tell you better because one, see the standard time, the time allowed is 8, I agree. But in any case, the actual time is always fixed. Please understand and appreciate this. You work in a day for 8 hours. So your 8 hours is fixed. But this will go on changing depending upon your efficiency. So even though they have said that the time allowed is 8, I don't think we should keep standard as 8 constant and change actual time. Because if I have to change actual time, then maybe somewhere here it will become 0, which is practically incorrect. In fact, even if it is becoming 1, it is incorrect because nobody can work anything of 8 hours in 1 hour. That will be very impractical. So I think this is more appropriate. Anyways, we have the answer. We can check it with the answer. So basically, what is important is, please understand the question. I have been repeating this again and again because until unless you understand what is asked, how will you find out the answer? So this was a very beautiful language construction. I felt I was reading Shakespeare. So it says that you have to find out all these three things under Halsey Rowan both, but for each are saved progressively. So one hour extra you are saving. So this is how it has to be done, right? Now, again, still what is left is, now at least I've understood the first part, that is a question, but my second part is left. I need also to work on the presentation. See, these are the different skills which are tested. One, language interpretation skill, but after that, again, now something is asked very specifically, so I have to ensure that my answer shows that. So I will prepare a statement showing, now I'll simply name it as labor computation. So they have asked me different things. I'll name it as labor computation. Now, what they want me to show is bonus. They want me to show is some hourly earnings, whatever. So I need to show these three things: bonus, total earnings, hourly earnings, and this I need to show for Halsey Rowan both. So my two columns, one second, Ritisha, Halsey Rowan. Within this, I need to show them all these three things: bonus, total, and hourly. So I need to find out bonus, total earnings, and earnings per hour, that is hourly earnings. Same here, bonus, total earnings, and earnings per hour. Correct? And this I have to do in all these options. So what are my options? Standard time, actual time, time saved. So I'll project this data here, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, maybe up to 18. 8, 8, 8, 8, 8, 8. Here it is 0, here it is 1, here it is 2, 3, 4, and I'm going up to 10. Now for each of these, I have to find out these amounts under Halsey and under own. Yes, Ritisha, beta, please, go ahead.
So I was saying if we take standard time as 8 and average like time as maybe in a decreasing order like 8, 7, 6. So
Firstly, beta, A is not average, A is actual time,
yeah,
right?
sorry, sir.
And I think I recently answered Omkar or someone, then this is incorrect. Why? Because if I go on reducing actual time, there are two mistakes in that. First, in real life scenario, actual time is always fixed. Why? Because you work for those many hours in a day. So let us say I'm taking 8 hours a day. So your 8 hours a day will be fixed. What will be changing is depending upon efficiency, every worker standard time is changing. So firstly, this will go wrong if I change the actual time. Second, there will be a case where I will reach 0, which is wrong. Actual time cannot be 0. Rather, if I even reach 1, that is I keep on reducing actual time by 1 hour, then what it will show that the work of 8 hours is done in 1 hour, which is a very hypothetical situation. That is why I think this will be, this is the only or the correct way. We have the answer now. Let us see what module has done. See, they have done it. Okay, they have done it in the manner in which what you all are saying. They have reduced the actual hours. Okay, you can do the working like this also. But I
Sir, but
personally feel this is not practically very appropriate presentation. Fine. Yes,
sir, this is ICAI. So,
please go ahead.
hello. Sir, from what you have explained, I used to get that they have given the standard time for the work, but for if I am been observing a worker for 10 days, then I can based on his working hours, actual hours, completing in the task. So you have concluded that standard hour for the worker, right, sir?
Hmm.
Is
Standard
that what?
hours is always for the work, not for the worker. See, standard hours is always for the work. So that work requires 8 hours, which is standard. And the what worker will be doing is the actual. Okay, no problem. See, students, that is a point of presentation. So if I keep standard as constant, what you all are saying, then only difference is that my actual will change with 1 hour, and I will not go to 0 because that is practically incorrect. I will only go to the last thing, that is 1. So my last option will be 1. So that is okay, na? But if I have to do presentation, I'll prefer the first one because at least I find that more logically correct. But that is okay. So this is how the answer would be presented. Now here time saved is 0, here time saved is 1, 2, 3, 4, and here it is 7. So now we have to go on computing each of these things. So we have the formula in Halsey, the bonus is 50% multiplied by TS into TR. In Rowan, the bonus is TS upon ST into 80 into TR. So all these workings you will be doing for each of these so that you get the amounts. To that, you'll add your basic wages, that is minimum wages, to this bonus. So you'll get your total earnings. And then how do we find out earnings per hour? Total earnings divided by actual hours. That is this table. So total earnings divided by actual hours will give you earnings per hour. Correct, students? Should I give you time now to solve it or should we go to the next question? Because at least I feel this is very pretty straightforward. Yes, I think I also prefer going to next question, right? Because this is more of mechanical working. Chalo, good. Now, again, this is interesting. What it says, A, or I don't know whether it is A or whatever it is, a skilled worker in XYZ is paid. It is, I think, a skilled worker is paid at the rate of 30 per hour. So 30 per hour is your time rate. The standard time per unit for the product is 4. And Mr. P, one of the worker, has been paid wages under 1. And he had earned an effective hourly rate of 37.5. See, until unless you understand the meaning of effective hourly rate, you will not be able to solve. What is effective hourly rate? It is your earnings per hour. That is your total earnings divided by actual time. So when I come to this sum, but all our exam sums, whatever we are doing, all have come in exams in some or the other scenario. Yes. So when I say effective earnings per hour, it is total earnings upon actual hours. Correct? Now, wage rate is given 30, standard is given as 4, row 1, etc. is given. So I'll just put the data. So I'm given standard hours as 4. Actual hours I'm not given, so I'm assuming it to be X. So my time saved becomes 4 minus X. Also, using this equation, they have given my effective earnings per hour is this. Total earnings I do not know. Actual hours I've assumed to be X. Therefore, my total earnings would be 37.5x. See, so I have computed some data. Now, simply, I'll put it in formula. So how is my earnings calculated by row 1? So row 1 wages or row 1 earnings is calculated by the formula 80 into TR plus time saved upon standard time into 80 into TR. Now I put the values. Total earnings which I am getting is 37.5x. 80 is x, TR is 30, plus time saved is 4 minus x upon 4 into x into 30. Correct? Now this 30x I'll bring here, so it will get deducted. So what I'm left with is 7.5x is equal to. Now this 4 which is divided by, I bring here, it will become multiplied by. So it will be 7.5 into 4 is 30. Now I have this and this multiplied by, I bring this here, so it will be divided by, so it is 30x. Correct? And now what is left on this side is 4 minus x. Now here 30x upon 30x is 1. 4 minus x. Therefore, x is equal to 3, which is your actual time. So effectively, I complete this table. Standard hours is 4. Actual hours, which is x, is now 3. So time saved hours is 1. So once I get this, I think the question is now simple. So state what could have been the total earnings and effective earnings per hour if you would have been put under Halsey. Now my answer would be very simple. So now my standard is 4. Actual is 3. Time saved is 1. I have to now simply compute his earnings under Halsey, which is actual time into time rate plus 50% of time saved into time rate, which is 3 hours into 30 plus 50% of 1 hour into 30. So 90 and 15 is 105. This is my total earnings under Halsey. And then what will be my effective earnings per hour? It is total earnings upon actual hours. So it is 105 upon actual hours is 3. So it is rupees 35 per hour. Correct, students? Yes. These are all exam sums. All. Next. A factory having the latest sophisticated machines wants to introduce incentive schemes. Okay. Keeping you the following, the entire gains of the improved production should not go to the worker. So anyways, we are not giving the full benefit to the worker. It is shared between the worker and the management and the others. Okay. In the name of speed, quality should not suffer. Okay. And the rate setting department is newly established and liable to come. See, all this, if you read, are the positives of Rowan scheme. So when they are putting all these as the condition, you are required to prepare a suitable incentive scheme and demonstrate with an example why your scheme is better. So it is nothing but Rowan. So simply you have to always recommend Rowan in such cases. And any example like what they have done, you can collate your own example and answer, right? Okay. Great. So students, I hope you all have understood the computation part of labor, which is computation under various schemes. Now we come to some more theory which is left in this chapter. They are saying absorption of wages. Absorption means charging. And how do we do charging? We do charging by computing the charging rate, which we discussed already. That is total wages upon your normal hours. Now total wages is made up of your basic wages, the allowances, and all these non-monetary, which is called as perquisites or incentives. So we add up all this. This becomes your total wages, which is the numerator in our case. So they have taken example. So you add up all this. This is the numerator. Now you divide it by the total normal hours. So total normal hours, once you divide it, you get your charging rate. That is the wage rate per hour. It is also the effective rate or the charging rate. Here, the only thing is that they have not yet deducted the normal idle time. That may happen later. So total wages upon your total hours, that is your effective rate per hour. Again, somebody was asking me in the previous lecture, sir, what about holidays? See, while computing the hours, they have not taken 365 days. So all regular holidays, like 1 weekly off, or nowadays, in fact, it has become a 5 days week, so maybe 2 weekly offs, that will be adjusted in the days, plus the standard holidays of all, like 15th August, 26th January, maybe for Holi, Diwali, Ramzan, etc. All will be adjusted, and then you will get these days. These days multiplied by a normal working hour will be your total hours available. In this, you will deduct normal idle time, which is the hours which will be lost during the day. That will give you the denominator, which is the normal productive hours. And numerator total cost, denominator normal working hours, you get the effective earnings per hour or the charging rate, right? So see, all these small things are explained here. Pallavi is asking, sir, please explain the Halse-Rowan diagram. So the diagram shown in the previous answer. Yes, Kasak, 285 would be given, or you would be given the holiday scheme, like it is 1 day a week, it is 2 days a week, and then how many are holidays during festivals, etc. Okay. Pallavi, okay, let me just go to the diagram. Anyways, Pallavi, that I don't believe is an important diagram for the simple reason that this is diagram on the basis of the data taken by the question itself. Means there is nothing given in the question for which you have to do. So for understanding this diagram, you have to understand basically what they are trying to compare. So here in the denominator, in the y-axis, they are showing output. On the x-axis, they are showing the labor cost. Now, for zero output, the labor cost has to be zero. But again, if you are given some minimum wages, like in case of Halse-Rowan, there would be a minimum wages, right? But the minimum wages cannot be the total wages if your output is zero. So there it would be somewhere lower. But this is how they have started with the diagram. And then with increase in output, your wages is increasing. The only thing is that the rates are different for Halse-Rowan. Now, interestingly, for Rowan, there is a curve. Why there is a curve? Because after a certain level, the wages may not increase at the same rate, at a constant rate. So then you have a slightly curve, not a straight line. So straight line happens in case of piece rate because your rate per unit is fixed for all output. Even in Halse, it remains constant because you get a constant 50% of bonus. But in case of Rowan, it is always a curve because the percentage that you are getting by that formula, time saved upon standard time, keeps on changing. So that is why you have a curve in case of Rowan. Similarly, if we are finding out the wages per unit, so above diagram was total wages, here the diagram is per unit. So obviously in the initial part, the wages is higher because you are having less output, but you are giving minimum wages. So that is why the per unit cost is higher. But with increase in production, the per unit cost may not be increasing at the same rate because you are giving incentives, but the incentive is only half in case of Halse, and in case of Rowan, it is proportionate. That is why your per unit piece rate goes on decreasing. So this is how both these graphs are made, Pallavi, but don't learn them, don't prepare them for exam. These are just illustrative graphs. Okay. Okay. So see, this is our charging rate formula, the mother formula adjusted for labor. So this we already discussed in the previous lecture. So numerator is total cost, which is both monetary, non-monetary, divided by the hours available minus the normal idle time. So this gives you a normal productive hours in the denominator, numerator total labor cost made up of all components. This is your labor charging rate. Fine. So all this we discuss. We are just going through the module to just cover the module also. Yes. Now you have something called as the efficiency rating procedure. I just explained you can calculate your percentage efficiency by this formula, standard time upon actual time into 100. Now, why this efficiency rating is to be done or why you need to do all these calculations. So the efficiency rating of the employee, the following procedures may be followed. So if you want to do this efficiency rating, that you want to find out percentage efficiency, first you have to determine the standard time. So first fix the standard, then calculate the actual, and then simply divide standard by actual. So for doing this efficiency rating, you first need to set the standard so that you get standard hours. Then you need to measure the actual time from your timekeeping time booking system, divide the standard by the actual so that you get your percentage efficiency. Now, what is the need for finding out this percentage efficiency or efficiency rating? Obviously, the basic purpose is control. Also, the basic purpose is identifying who are highly efficient workers so that for retaining them, you can take extra effort by giving them more incentives or by giving them better perquisites. So the basic purpose of identifying the percentage efficiency is one, control for inefficient workers, and two, retention for highly efficient workers. Another calculation given is employee productivity. Again, what is employee productivity? It is same. It is the percentage efficiency. So see, there are different terms. One is percentage efficiency, one is the employee rating, and the third is employee productivity. All means the same. Here again, in numerator, you have standard time divided by the actual time. The only difference here is here we are not multiplying it by 100. So we are not going to get this amount as a percentage. We are going to get this amount as a ratio. So this may come as 1.1, 1.2 if you are above efficiency level. It may come as 0.9, 0.85 if you are below efficiency level. Now, factors for increasing the productivity, or in short, increasing the efficiency: employing only those workers who possess the right skill, placing the right type of person on the right job. Many times we find that this is the major problem in many organizations, especially the one which are not professionally managed. So until unless you, firstly, you should employ the right workers, means you should employ those workers which are required for the work to be done in your organization. If I have technical skills, but you are putting me on the interpretational job or vice versa, it may not work. So firstly, employing right workers, then putting them in the right place, then training the young and the old workers by providing them right type of opportunities. So training is required because nowadays everything is adapting, changing very fast. So training is required. Take appropriate measures to avoid situations of excess or shortage of employees. So both are not good. Excess employees will increase your cost because employees would be sitting idle and the production would not be matching them. Shortage will also increase your cost because you'll have to make your work overtime, which we already discussed may not be a good sign if it is regular. And then carrying out study for fixation of wages. This is called as, pay attention, this is called as time and motion studies, whereby you carry out scientific experiment to fix what should be the perfect standard, and on that basis to determine the proper wages. Why this is necessary? Fixation of proper wages is necessary, one, to ensure that the employee gets proper remuneration so that he is retained, he or she. Two, your costing is also appropriate. So fixing wages by standardized method is what is this particular point. And the technique which is used is the time and motion studies and the work analysis. And then this is the labor turnover, which we have already done. So students, I have completed the entire labor chapter. Everything we have done in all concepts. The last point in this chapter, which is a very small part, which I explained at the start in the previous lecture is, see, there are three components of cost: material, labor, and expense. Now, all are made up of two parts: direct, indirect, direct, indirect, direct, indirect. But out of expense, the direct expense is a very small component. In fact, in many sums, you'll not find direct expense. That is why they have put it in the employee chapter itself. And the major part of expense, which is indirect, is what we are going to cover in our overhead chapter, because overheads means what is indirect, right? Yes. What is your name? We are Nikethana. See, Nikethana, but I don't know whether what you studied in time and motion studies in 12th is the same, because I don't recall my 12th standard, what was there in time and motion studies. But time and motion study concept is same. So what is direct expense, student? Direct expense is any expense which you can link with your output, which you can identify with your output. And I had mentioned in the last lecture, the most common example is royalty, because it is directly linked with output. The more you do the output, per unit of output, you pay the royalty. Now, in some other cases, it may be the higher charges where you hire a particular item of equipment for a particular product only. So if a particular gadget is used for a particular product, the hiring cost of that gadget becomes direct cost. Similarly, certain specific design or drawing, which is again made for that product, or any particular software which is required for that product, or any other expense which you can easily link with that particular product. So any expense can be direct if it is identifiable with that product. But generally, the most common example is always royalty, because it is actually calculated and paid per unit of product only. And then comes again the same points. Measurement, you have to compute. Then the treatment is simple. It is directly charged to the product. It is added to the cost of the product because it is a direct cost. Fine. Srini is asking, sir, employee turnover question is very important from exam point of view. If we can explain some illustration from study material would be good. I think, but Srini, last lecture we did illustration. I gave my own illustration on the basis of which we computed a turnover. You forgot, beta? When I was explaining turnover from my sheet, I took a practical example. 2000 was the starting number, then addition, then deletion, then closing number of workers, which I think came to some 2050 something. We took average and we did a calculation of labor turnover, beta. Still, you may just solve the questions given in module. By chance you have a doubt, you may always ask. Correct? That's it. So we have completed everything, including theory, right? If you have any further doubts, students, you may please ask. Just to inform, the next scheduled lecture, I think it is scheduled of labor, but we have already completed labor. So labor won't be taking place in that. There would be some other topic, which I'm sure you would be informed, or you can directly come and join. You'll come to. Yes, Hardik, now you can raise your question. Rather, anybody can raise any question relating to costing subject. It may be material labor or it may be any topic. Yes, Hardik.
Sir, in question 28, sir, there only the average consumption is given and annual requirement is not given. So, sir, can we take average consumption as the annual requirement?
No. Can you just check in that question, what is the average consumption given per day, per month, per week? What is given? Can you just check?
Sir, it is per week, so we will multiply it by 52 weeks.
52, because the annual requirement is always the consumption for the whole year. So if it is given average, see what is average? We take total, we divide it by days, so it will become average consumption per day. Here in your case, they would have divided by week, so it is given as average consumption per week. So to convert it into annual, you again multiply it by number of weeks, which is generally taken as 52. So you get annual. Correct, beta?
So, sir, it can be done, no? Average can be multiplied by 52 and taken as annual requirement.
It can be, it has to be done that way only. That is the only way of finding out annual requirement. So see, in some sums, you have seen, like we solved the sum yesterday in that revision lecture, if you were there, or maybe even in our materials chapter, where the consumption, or it was given monthly. So we multiplied it by 12 to find out annual. So here, if it is given weekly, you multiply it by 52. That is the only way to find out your consumption. Correct,
and
beta?
sir, yes, sir, got it. Sir, in question 38, there is additional charges of a container. First, we have bought in the container and then we have sold the container. But so, sir, we will charge only the difference price or we will charge the full price?
See, if you remember what we discussed in material when we were discussing in fact, last lecture only, we were discussing the material charging price. I said that in the numerator, you'll add all costs relating to material, but at that time, you also have to deduct something. What we have to deduct? We have to deduct the material container return. So if I'm returning the container, let us say when I purchase or when I took the container, they charge me 10 rupees. When I'm returning, they will pay me back 8 rupees. So I'm adding 10 rupees and I'm deducting 8 rupees. So this is how we'll do for the container. So automatically the net 2 rupees is part of your cost. Yes, Nitish, you are right. The difference will be your cost.
Difference. Okay, sir.
Perfect.
Sir, and yes, sir. Sir, and in question 44, that challenged question, sir, there was one part in which assume the company is willing to have a 5% risk of being stock out. What will be the total? What will be the safety stock and the reorder one?
Correct.
So, sir, what is stock out?
Good. Firstly, I'll answer Neha. Neha, see, I'm intentionally not taking everything which is given in the module because that is an opportunity from my side to do practice. See, if I take all the module sums in the class, then what you will practice at your end. So maybe you can practice at your end, and now like Hardik is asking the questions, please ask them. See, I believe in this approach which I have followed as per my sir's instruction, which he used to call a self-help approach. What is self-help? You first do it yourself, because when you do it yourself, you have your own doubts. You may have not understood a particular thing or a particular calculation. When you ask that particular specific doubt, and when I answer it, your concepts will become more stronger. Like here today, I took many sums from the module. Now, when I'm taking the sums, you would have observed I'm directly starting with the answering and directly going to that particular assumption X, Y, etc. But this has not triggered the thinking process in your mind. Tomorrow, if the same sum comes to you, you may not be able to approach that sum in that fashion. So it is always recommended way of studying. This I mentioned for theory also. I'm also mentioning for practical, that first do it yourself. Don't even see the answer in the module, even though you have the answer. So you just read the question and start solving. Maybe it may take half an hour and you may not land up with any answer. It is still fine, but it will help triggering your thought process. Because remember one thing, beta, in exams and definitely in your professional life, you will be put across with questions which you may not have seen before. In fact, that professional has more demand in the market who is able to handle those type of situations or problems or queries which have not come earlier. So that preparation of your mind is important, and that will happen when you start solving sums by yourself. So start solving sums. Wherever you are stuck up, like how now Hardik is asking or somebody else is asking, you may always put across to me any question in any lecture. Correct? So students, I am requesting everyone to develop this habit for reading also. Read the heading, try to figure out what could be there. Read the question, try to figure out the answers. Same thing for practical. Once we have understood the concept, start solving the sums. I agree the sums are going to be different. So solve. Now answering your question, what is stock out? Again, beta, focus on the word stock out. If I change from active to passive, it means out of stock. So what is the question? I want to assume a risk of 5% of being out of stock. Means what? I am ready to bear the risk that out of the total 5% times I will not be having stock. It means my customers will go back. That is saying assuming risk of 5% of being out of stock. Correct, Hardik?
Okay, sir.
Now apply this in your example. Try to find out answer. Even if it is not understood, we will do it. And please mention the question
Okay, sir.
number so that others can also
Sir,
practice. See,
44 Challenger.
in fact, the previous question also, which you asked, was an important question. 20 what?
28.
28. Students, please practice these sums because these are very important questions. Omkar is asking, sir, in illustration 15, there is a concept of contribution loss. Yes, Omkar. Omkar, if you remember when we were discussing the concept of, I think, turnover. Yes. In turnover, labor turnover, if an employee leaves your organization, then there is some gap between the time when he has left and the other worker comes in his place or her place. Now that time gap, your production is impacted because if some worker is not there, or let us say even if a new worker has come, the speed of that new worker will not match with the efficiency, so the efficiency will be lower. So during that much period, one where there is no worker or where the worker is there, but the worker's productivity is low, that much time of your factory or of your productive hours is lost. Like if in a whole day I can work for 10 hours, but 2 hours are lost because of power failure, those 2 hours are permanently lost. Now, if this power failure would not have happened, or in your case, if the labor turnover would not have happened, I could have worked for those 2 hours which are lost. And in those 2 hours, whatever production and sales I could have made, I could have earned some profit on that. What is that profit? It is the sales minus the variable cost, because the more I'm producing, the more I'm also spending in the form of variable. So sales minus variable cost is your contribution. It is something similar to GP of your accounts. So sales minus the variable cost, in costing this difference is called as contribution. And if there is a turnover, there is some time which is lost to fill in the gap, to make the employee ready for that work. That much hours, you find out the production, you find out the sales, and on that sales, find out how much profit or contribution you lost. That is what is your answer, Omkar. I hope I have made it clear, Omkar.
Sir,
Yes, madam.
sir, one last doubt.
No,
Sir,
no problem. You can ask any number of
uh,
doubts.
sir, in question 53, sir, we have calculated the EOQ and only the lead time is given. So, sir, we have to calculate reorder level. So, sir, we will take EOQ as the normal consumption.
No, EOQ is not the consumption, beta. EOQ is your order quantity. It is the quantity that you will be buying from the market at one time. It is never
But, sir,
your,
nothing is mentioned.
which sum you're talking about, beta?
53.
From module or from my notes?
Sir, your notes.
Three. Okay. So annual demand is given.
Yes, sir.
Ordering cost is given. Interest, etc. is given. Lead time is half month. So now where you are stuck up, beta? What you are not able to get?
Sir, reorder level.
Acha. What is the formula for reorder level? It is lead time into
Into
consumption.
normal consumption into normal red time plus safety stock.
So here you have consumption na beta. This I think you have taken as your AR
Yes, sir.
while computing EOQ. AR is what is your annual requirement of material, that is material that you need for consumption.
Okay, sir, got it.
So
Sir,
divided by 12
Ah,
months, you get per
yes, sir,
month
got it.
consumption, multiply it into half. That is your answer.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yes, Soundarya is saying, sir, can you do material cost topic related questions in next class? Soundarya, please be specific. Whatever question, like how Omkar or maybe Hardik is asking, go to the particular question, raise a particular query. I may answer even today. I don't have a problem. Even though our class lecture is over, those whoever want their queries to be solved may be there. I'm ready to answer you today also. But be very specific. Which material cost topic you want? Please be specific, raise question, and also raise question specific. Okay, in this question, I have not understood this. See, why I'm insisting on this? I want you all to start first applying your brain so that you also develop that particular skill of interpreting the questions and maybe 30, 40, 50% reaching the answer. Soundarya, please remember, I know there is a study pattern, especially followed by many classes, where they give everything ready-made. That may seem good to y'all, but let me tell you with authority, because I have been in profession now for more than 21 years, this is not going to help you better in your real life. In real life, what you do by yourself is only going to help you, because no organization, after you get the qualification and you join it or you start your own practice, nobody will give you ready-made answers. Every question that will come to you will be different, will be novel. In fact, adding to this, now we are seeing so much development in technology. If there is any repetitive question, remember one thing: tomorrow you are not the person whom the corporates will go to. They will go to the AI, they will go to that particular software which will give them answers. But adding the same thing, AI cannot do non-repetitive things. See, all these softwares and all these technologies, at least what can be expected for next 10, 15, 20 years, are only designed to answer the repetitive things. You are the one who are the always go-to person when it comes to a novel thing. So develop your abilities to handle new things, to handle different things. And that is what I'm insisting on when I'm asking you to think of any particular topic before reading. Same thing I'm insisting you all to answer any question, like how I've given so many practice sums. Start solving. Make mistakes, not a problem. Get stuck up, not a problem, but be very specific in your question. This will at least ensure me that you all have studied the question yourself. You have at least applied your brains. So when you come with me to a very specific question, the answer I will give you will help you develop your concepts more. Am I clear, beta? Fine. Is it okay with everyone? Sure, it was really nice session with everyone.
Thank you,
Let
sir.
us catch up again next week with the next topic, that is overheads. Fine. Take care, students. Bye-bye.